pillage the village and trash the scene, but better not take it out on me, cause a ghost town is found where your city used to be. So out of the darkness and into the light, sparks fly everywhere in sight from a double barrel 12 gauge. Can't lock me in your cage. You see us coming and you all together run for cover. We're taking over this town. Here we come, reach for your gun, and you better listen well, my friend. You see, it's been slow down below, aimed at you with the cowboys from hell. Deed is done, again we won. Ain't talking no tall tales, friend, cause high noon, your doom, coming from you with the cowboys from hell. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another exciting episode of the Unrelenting Alchemist, all spiritual, all the time. And so today I want to talk to you about spiritual burdens and the dark side of the empath life contract. We'll call it shadowy burdens of the empath's life contract, a cosmic agreement that is dark and that is burdensome. To be an empath is to walk through the world as a mirror, a sponge, a sacred vessel, absorbing energies that do not belong to you, feeling emotions never voiced, and intuitively knowing pain unspoken. But underneath the spiritual beauty of this role lies a darker, more burdensome truth. Empaths have a soul contract that binds them to the suffering of others. This contract, often agreed upon before incarnation, is layered with shadow, responsibility, and sorrow. While it promises healing and light work, it also requires the empath to endure energetic burdens that can lead to spiritual depletion, psychic overwhelming, and emotional martyrdom. So in this video, we're going to explore why empaths are so often the emotional scapegoats, the energetic wastebaskets, and the psychic healers of humanity's unresolved karma. We're going to go into the hidden clauses of the empathic life contract, how projections and psychic hooks function, and why so many empaths feel they carry the world on their shoulders, much like Atlas. Ultimately, we offer a path to renounce or revise this contract so empaths can live empowered, joyful, and sovereign lives. So let's talk about the origin of the empath's life contract. Many spiritual traditions suggest that the souls make agreements prior to incarnation. These decisions are made in higher realms to assist in the evolution of Earth's collective consciousness. And in other videos, I've covered this through volunteer souls. Empaths are very advanced souls who frequently agree to contracts that align them with the vibration of healing, purification, and emotional transmutation. The empath's life contract typically includes emotional receptivity to feel the pain of others as their own, energetic absorption of collective or ancestral suffering, so to speak. Now, there's an unconscious caretaking role in some families, some partnerships, and communities, unspoken duties to maintain peace, harmony, and spiritual order. These contracts are forged from noble intentions to elevate humanity, to transmute darkness into light, and to aid others in their awakening. But Earth, as a dense and polarizing planet, complicates these intentions. The empath's purity becomes magnetized to trauma. Their light becomes a beacon for the shadows of others. And so the act of being a mirror becomes a burden. The empath is not merely someone who feels a lot. The empath serves as reflective surfaces for the unhealed wounds of people around them. Others unconsciously see their inner child, their shame, their rage, the sadness in the empath, and rather than face it within, they cast it onto the empath. This is a psychological and energetic phenomenon of projecting. People who are emotionally wounded tend to blame the empath for their discomfort, expect the empath to fix or save them, drain the empath through codependency, resent the empath's insight and intuition, and because empaths often do not fight back, instead they listen deeply, they become the perfect psychic receptacles of unresolved energy. The empath becomes the parent that others wish they had that would have rescued them, or the failure they see in themselves, or the saint they expect to stay pure no matter how much they take. But that's not bearable, and the result is emotional entrapment, spiritual servitude disguised as some twisted form of love. This is where transmutation and alchemy comes in. Empaths are often born into dysfunctional or wounded families where they are assigned the spiritual role of emotional caretaker. This role is not always spoken, but it is felt. They mediate arguments, they absorb sadness, they anticipate needs, As children, they become the silent alchemists, believing they are here to make things better. Spiritually, they are transmuters. They turn sorrow into song, anger into insight, despair into love, but this alchemy takes an enormous toll. This transmutation process requires constant psychic vigilance, being alert to emotional shifts, energetic cleanup, purging the remnants of other people's trauma, spiritual martyrdom, believing one must suffer to help others evolve. Many empaths live this way for decades, internalizing the pain of others while never addressing their own. They suppress their own desires, their voice, and their power to accommodate the chaos of others. And this is why the weight of the world comes to fall on the shoulders of the empath. Empaths attract the wounded. Their aura emits the vibration of safety, acceptance, and deep listening. Narcissists, manipulators, addicts, victims, and broken souls instinctively recognize this and attach. This attachment is often not conscious. It happens on an energetic level. Like moths to a flame, people who lack boundaries or emotional maturity seek this energetic nourishment from the empaths, which is pretty much vampiric. But why? Empaths give without expecting much in return. They intuitively understand pain, which feels very validating to others who have been looking for that. They offer sanctuary without judgment, and they're likely to not abandon someone who is in need. And thus, a karmic loop is born. The empath plays the healer, the other plays the wounded. The roles may sound sacred, but underneath it all, it's so parasitic. Empaths begin to lose themselves. Their own dreams are postponed. Their health declines, and their spirit becomes exhausted. And they wonder why they feel responsible for the weight of the world, because in truth, they are holding it energetically, emotionally, spiritually. Why do people continue to project their failures onto these empaths? Projection is a defense mechanism, and it's very unconscious. When people cannot face their shame, regret, or inadequacies, they need someone onto whom they can offload that pain. Empaths, being deeply sensitive, become targets for these psychic projections. They often hear, "You think you're better than everyone. You're way too sensitive. Why are you always so emotional? You act as if you know everything. You're not better than me." These statements are not truths. They are the mirror of the speaker's own disowned wounds. The empath becomes a screen for the collective movie of unconscious pain. But the empath, if unaware, they might internalize these projections as truth, and this leads to chronic self-doubt, identity confusion, shame-based trauma, emotional dysregulation. In this state, the empath forgets why they are sacred. They begin to see themselves through the distorted lens of the world around them, and they may even begin to lose hope. So what's the danger of this unrenounced contract? Many empaths never realize that they, yes, agreed to these burdens, and they assume this is their fate, to be the one who always understands, always gives, always forgives. With this unconscious agreement, this invisible life contract is precisely what binds them to perpetual suffering. Without renouncing the contract, the empath carries generational trauma not theirs to bear. They remain trapped in martyrdom patterns. They repeat toxic relationship dynamics. They feel an unexplained exhaustion and possibly a creeping soul death. This is spiritual burnout. This is a depletion not just of energy but of essence. Renouncing the contract doesn't mean abandoning compassion. It means reclaiming your power, reclaiming your sovereignty. It means choosing to help others when guided, not from guilt. You must honor your own emotions first rather than becoming a psychic trash can. And so, here are the signs that the contract must be renounced. Empaths may reach a point in their life where their soul screams for release. This is usually preceded by a nervous breakdown or chronic fatigue, the ending of an extremely toxic relationship, a spiritual awakening, or dark night of the soul, DONS, which we've talked about many times in this channel. Physical illness rooted in emotional suppression, a sudden desire to disappear or escape. These are not random. They are signs that the old contract is no longer aligned. The empath is being asked to ascend to a new vibration, one that does not require their suffering for others' healing. To continue under the old contract is to die slowly, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Chiron, the wisest of centaurs, was born from the union of the Titan Cronus and the sea nymph Philra, who yet he was mocked at birth for his strange form. Unlike his wild kin, he was gentle, he was learned, he was a master of healing, music, prophecy, and martial arts. He mentored great heroes like Achilles, Asclepius, and Heracles, but his fate turned tragic when he was accidentally struck by a poisoned arrow from Heracles. Though immortal, the wound just would not heal, and in excruciating pain, Chiron willingly gave up his immortality in exchange for Prometheus's freedom. The gods honored his sacrifice by placing him among the stars as the constellation Centaurus, forever a wounded healing, lighting the ways for those seeking wisdom through suffering. Chiron, the wisest of centaurs, in his own way, he found that people were disgusted by his strange form, half man, half horse. And they were surprised at his behavior, that he was so refined, he was so educated, he was so learned, by contrast to his other fellow countrymen who, in essence, were wild and untamed. It's in this sense that Chiron's story becomes all the more tragic, and why we can see that there are some kind of parallels here between what Chiron goes through and what empaths go through. But that is just a story. You do not have to go the way of the tragic Chiron. So let's talk about how to renounce the contract. Renouncing the contract is a sacred act. It is not about revenge or cruelty. It is about reclaiming agency over your soul's journey. Your steps to renunciation begin with a spiritual acknowledgement. You say aloud or you write, I now revoke any soul contracts that bind me to the pain of others at the expense of my own well-being. Then you begin the energetic cutting. You use your visualizations, your rituals, your energy work, cord cutting meditations, salt baths, sound healing to release the attachments. You have the time to integrate your shadow. Examine your own belief that you must suffer to be loved. Heal the inner child who was taught that love meant overfunctioning. So you have to begin the reprogramming. You rewire your subconscious through affirmations like, I am not responsible for fixing others. I am allowed to say no. My joy is primary and it is sacred, and I will not give it up. This is where you set boundaries. You learn to set boundaries without guilt. Being unavailable is not selfish, it is survival. You must anchor yourself in sovereignty. Connect with your higher self. Reestablish your purpose on your terms. Choose where, how, and with whom you will share that sacred energy. You become the empowered empath. Once that contract is renounced, the empath does not stop being empathic. They become empathically empowered. The empowered empath chooses who they choose to help, honors their own emotional needs, protects their energy field, recognizes manipulation and projection, leads through example, not obligation, feels peace, not depletion. They learn to feel without absorbing, to observe without carrying, to love without losing themselves. This is the rebirth of the empath, no longer a vessel for others' trash, but a beacon of aligned light. In conclusion, you achieve liberation through sovereignty. The life contract of the empath is often signed in a higher realm with noble intent, but Earth is a harsh teacher. Many empaths on this rock become trapped in a cycle of emotional labor, in energetic theft and psychic depletion, but awareness is liberation. Empaths are not weak, they're extremely powerful. They have a compass, but they must learn that being a channel for love does not mean becoming a martyrdom for pain. So you need to keep people at a distance if need be. Renounce the life contract means you rewrite the terms of existence. To say to the universe, I choose love without loss. I choose compassion with clarity. I choose first service without unnecessary self-sacrifice. Only then can the empath truly heal, begin to live not as a wounded healer, but as a radiant sovereign soul. And so I thank you for joining me in the sacred hour. This has been the Unrelenting Alchemist. Until next time, walk wisely, walk bravely, and when the dark calls, you answer not with fear, but with fire and light. You take care of yourselves. And if I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
And if I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I love you.